That blood from a turnip, stone, blood from a rock. You squeeze what you can out of what you got.
Squeeze what you can out of what you got. It's like make lemonade when you're handed lemons.
Yeah, or if you're handed a stone, boil it in some water and hope there's flavor.
To make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs. Same thing? No.
Same concept.
Yeah. Well, is it true in Haiti there's something dirt cake that they make?
Oh, that's very sad.
Yes,
It's true.
it is. For pregnant women, they take a fat.
I don't know that it's sad. Depending on the dirt, there's probably some dirt we'd all like to eat if we.
Well, yeah, in a sense it's ingenious too, right? Because the pregnant women need minerals.
All right. As long as it's not just strictly out of desperation.
As long as it's not from an industrial
No,
brownfield.
it's definitely out of desperation.
It is. So then it's sad. Come on.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Worms eat dirt.
That's true.
Yeah. I guess if you wanted to find some kind of ray of hope in that, maybe humans will become like plants and learn to eat dirt too.
That would take probably hundreds of millions of years.
I think we can learn to eat a lot of things. That's one of the reasons we've survived this long. Is that we can eat us and rats are like the only two species that can eat damn near anything. And so that's why we survive in the North Pole, and we survive at the equator, and we survive at sea, and we survive in deserts.
We can't live off the sun.
Well,
Not yet.
that's true.
No.
We need an ecosystem, but we can survive in a lot of different types of ecosystems.
We're heterotrophs.
Although not anymore. We've domesticated ourselves into one way of being, and now we're all 35% corn and basically unable to survive in the wild, which is something we've talked about a lot before.
Right. But we have to look too at societies in the past. Like I've heard that the Tasmanians didn't recognize fish as a food. And when the Europeans got there, they were in the midst of a famine, but yet living on an island surrounded by fish.
That's not the only civilization that
Didn't recognize fish as a food.
I know that's happened in Scandinavian places too.
Wow. But then you have like Icelanders who recognize rotting shark meat as food. So I guess maybe it can go both ways.
Or
anything can be
or
food,
we think it's some of us might think it's weird that it's common anyway in a lot of the world, not so common in our part of the world, in the Muslim and the Jewish faith not to eat pork, but we think it's weird that people in India won't eat cows, but we won't eat dogs. Other cultures eat dogs. So it
would be weird if you're in a famine and there's dogs everywhere, and that's the only thing available, and that's the one thing you won't eat for arbitrary reasons.
But why is not eating a dog any weirder than not eating a cow? Or maybe weird's the wrong word.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's totally cultural. I'm sure dog is delicious.
And then what's wrong with eating dirt?
I don't think dirt is
it's not an animal.
Delicious or nutritious. That's just a desperation food.
If you knew there were valuable minerals in dirt, that if you sucked on dirt and chewed it a little, it would make you healthier.
Yeah.
But
I do.
Do I know that? Is that true?
Ian's implying that.
Well, yeah, I think a farmer will taste the dirt, right? Will taste it, and he can tell the pH of the soil, whether it's sweet or sour.
He can be like, oh, this is about 7.6. But I don't know about that.
Well, I think people have probably done that for a long time.
So you were brought up rotting shark meat. This is in the news recently. Chicago just banned shark fin soup.
China really loves the shark fin soup, right?
And I think actually Hong Kong might have banned it for official government functions. Which
$26 a bowl.
Sounds symbolic, but that's a big step in the right direction. It's a very unsustainable industry, and it's completely ridiculous because it doesn't have any flavor. It's all just like an image.
Cartilage.
Thing. It's just cartilage. It's all
Right.
about the image.
Do they have fake shark? Since it really doesn't do anything for you other than your mind, do they have a placebo shark fin soup? Has anyone thought of that?
I don't know. I mean, even if they do, I think the real thing is valued very highly. And
Is it like the myth of, aren't there like animal testicles people eat for those kinds of reasons? You know, is it
Yeah, like a
Oh,
lion's
yeah,
testicles,
definitely.
right?
is there any truth to that you know scientifically?
No, it's all completely bogus. And you know that's like a good thing about Viagra. Viagra has eliminated the market for a lot of that stuff because now we have something that really works.
But isn't even Viagra? Isn't that
Placebo? No.
not
Viagra
placebo?
works.
Right.
You tried it?
No, I haven't.
haven't either, but
I have
I
to
mean-
admit, I haven't.
You haven't needed to yet.
Yeah, I guess so. So I must have some alternative. But I did hear from a Sicilian.
called not
I did hear
being
from a Sicilian that parsley, like blended parsley. He was trying to show me because he couldn't. He's trying to show me like parsley in a cup, drinking it. That does the same thing. That's like the old Italian.
I don't know.
You know.
I know that rhinoceros testicles don't work, but I don't know that parsley doesn't work.
Well, it seems like you would try Viagra before you tried the rhinoceros testicle. Right?
I would hope. Unless you're African royalty.
So are there some endangered species that are no longer endangered because Viagra has made their testicles redundant?
Good question. I mean, I think a lot of the rhinos and tigers are healthier than they were 20 years ago, but they're still endangered.
Are there any fish we need to be worried about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about specific species. I think bluefin tuna is one that is
And sharks and whales?
big. Whales are not fish.
Well, now you're getting technical.
Also salmon because they swim upstream and dams are being built. So they can't swim over the dams.
That's true. Certain like
Whole species or just little
subspecies, like genetic
Communities.
strains, communities.
Salmon genocide.
Certain rivers
Not-
like have their salmon are threatened, but
as a species?
I don't think
Well,
there are
the
any salmon species which are endangered.
The salmon here aren't even natural.
No, they're
not,
introduced.
They're because they don't actually reproduce.
No, they do now.
They do.
They've started reproducing, especially on the Michigan side of Lake Michigan,
Huh. These are like
which some people think is great news. I mean, I don't think it's great news, but
Why? Because do salmon force other fish you like better out?
well, they're introduced fish. There's a limited resources, you know. Obviously, they're going to squeeze something out. Lake trout is probably the species that they're squeezing out. Lake trout used to be the dominant fish species in Lake Michigan, and now they're a small player.
Sturgeon?
Sturgeon were wiped out a long time ago.
But they're still in Lake Winnebago, and they've been reintroduced in Thiensville in the Milwaukee River.
Oh, we're trying to bring them back in the Milwaukee River, Lake Michigan, but it's going to be a long battle.
what about the Coega mussel? What do you think about that? Is that a good introduction?
There's no good
I mean-
introduction. I
I
mean,
mean, the lake sure is clean.
ethically speaking,
Right?
I think introduction is wrong. I mean, I think
That
humans.
humans are wrong.
No,
Yeah.
no, humans are not wrong, but humans have free will to make decisions, and
But we are an
anytime we're
introduction.
disrupting the ecosystem, it's
Which is
it's
when we're
wrong.
born, we begin to disrupt it.
Well, yeah, I agree with that in general.
That's that's the born in sin, right?
but
we are born in sin.
That's true. But like, given that we're already here and we're probably not going to wipe ourselves out.
Wait a minute. We're gonna,
That's in his wheelhouse there.
At least not like deliberately. We're not going to make a conscious choice to wipe
wow,
ourselves out.
that is debatable too.
Question on this show isn't is the apocalypse coming, it's which apocalypse.
Why are we making it happen? Yeah.
Well, it's easier to tackle quagga mussels. I think that we can all agree that we probably should not have introduced them, and if there were
Well, it was an accident.
Yeah,
right?
if there were an
everything is an
easy step
accident.
to reverse that, we would take it. But they do offer an upside. They clean the water. It's
Is there any upside to clean water other than snorkeling?
no.
But that's the main thing you're looking for.
Well, I
These days.
No. Actually, visually, the lake is more stunning
That's true.
than it was in the past.
It's more
And over the
beautiful.
past 10 years, it has become more aqua and turquoise.
I agree with
and
that.
more like an ocean. And
It's
that's
spectacular.
Yeah, it really, the light and the colors in it.
Good for tourism and property values.
It's cleaner than
Civic
the ocean.
pride.
It's bluer than the ocean. I mean, the visibility's better.
It's more ocean than the ocean?
Well, depends which
No.
part of the ocean we're talking about. But if you compare it to like the subtropics, Lake Michigan is clearer, better visibility.
Not near Bradford Beach, though.
Well,
So-
offshore. You have to go offshore a little
Because
bit.
the sand is what
Yeah.
makes like near the beach.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
turbulence from
But
the
if you-
waves crashing.
If you go up to Atwater Park, where there's rocks instead of sand, that's where you can snorkel.
Oh yeah, I think when the water is calm, you can find
And
very
if the
clear
quagga
spots.
mussels weren't there, what would be blocking the snorkeler's view in our aqua turquoise fantasies of the picturesque? Would it be bits of nutrients? What are the quagga mussels sucking out of the water that's blocking our view?
Yes.
Sediment particles.
Well, what are those? Is it the same dirt the Haitians are eating?
Yeah, I mean, it probably is just natural sediment. You know, no one knows what Lake Michigan means. I mean, I've heard a lot of things, or what Milwaukee means. Like, is Michigan, the stinking water, or is it the,
Oh, what it
blue-
means literally? Like
Yeah, in
Algonquin or
the
something?
original tongue. Yeah.
I've never heard about that.
Well, I feel like I've heard conflicting ideas. Or Milwaukee is the gathering of waters, or is it,
Well, this brings us to our other topic about extinction and culture, which is languages vanishing.
Yeah.
Because part of the reason we can't translate Milwaukee or Michigani it was
or
originally
Chiwaki.
it was a-
Wauwatosa.
yeah, it was originally I think Michilimackinac and Michigan. It all But the point is, we came here and maybe thought, by we I mean European Americans, would have come here and thought, oh, what do you call this? And we would have asked different people that sort of looked the same to us. But in fact, they had thousands of languages themselves. So it might be just a mishmash of things Europeans heard. Like a good example is Chippewa is actually the French translation of Ojibwa. Ojibwe was the word, but it wasn't even the word that the Chippewa called themselves.
Yeah.
They called themselves some long word that starts with an A. Chippewa was a derisive term by a neighboring tribe, or Ojibwe was a derisive term by a neighboring tribe to describe.
Ojibwa is not even authentic.
Ojibwa is not even authentic. Chippewa is a gibberish of Ojibwa.
Right.
And then it's it's a long word with an A that I can't remember. That's the word of the Chippewa for themselves.
Ojibwa is embraced now.
Ojibwa,
By the Ojibwa.
even though that was originally, it means like puckered, because they wore a certain kind of shoe. So their rival tribe called them. It means puckered shoe.
Puckered shoe people.
in another tribe's language. So
I don't know
how
what
the
a
heck?
puckered shoe looks like.
It's like a shoe with a little, I don't know, the shape.
No, like a clog from Holland. You know,
Yeah.
like the wooden shoes with the little
Basically,
tip.
just like that.
For those of you listening on the radio,
I'm just trying to help you guys imagine it.
it's
I don't know.
pucker or something. It's ojib. It's an ojib.
Okay, that should help the folks back home.
So Milwaukee or Michigan is probably a similar kind of mishmash of 5 different languages that got. So how would you?
How many tribes were there living around Milwaukee when the Europeans
Well,
came?
what's your when? When did Europeans come? Because first the Europeans.
Solomon Juno, right?
First, the
That's-
French fur traders came and had somewhat of a presence, but didn't really disrupt things that much. But then, when the English came on the East Coast, they forced the Iroquois further in, which forced the Menominee. Was it? Anyway, the tribes the Potawatomi were not indigenous going back 500 years to Wisconsin. The Potawatomi were really from Pennsylvania, New York, but then they got forced west by
All tribes were pushed west.
and
Right.
even before the Europeans got here and pushed them, they were pushing each other.
Right.
Just like right now, what is Yugoslavia? What is Austro-Hungarian Empire? I mean, they were having their own internal movements and migrations and power struggles. Then Europeans came and lit a match on all of that and changed the dynamics. So I guess I'm not answering any of these questions, but
Well, what about?
But
let's
there really
say,
isn't an answer.
The year 1800. How many tribes were there around Milwaukee?
this was the gathering place of many tribes. I think 1800. By then it was Potawatomi. But the Potawatomi weren't here much previous to that. But they were the
gathering
tribes.
place? Was it a harmonious gathering?
part of the issue is we don't have written records.
We have no idea.
Well, we have some idea. We have oral tradition. I mean, the Trojan War wasn't written down either for 1,000 years after it happened, but we've got that, so.
That's pretty unreliable.
Well, they've actually done some research on the details of Homer's description of the walls. And they've done some archaeological research that confirms, even though Homer was alive 800 years after the real Trojan War, a lot of his, I mean, obviously the stuff about gods is open to religious interpretation, but the actual physical descriptions, many of them can be confirmed.
So,
Which proves that Zeus is real.
once and for all.
There is a thunder god.
So, talking about extinction of ethnic groups, populations.
Yeah.
We're looking at Easter Island, which has been a mystery for really hundreds of years.
Why did it become a deserted island?
Well,
It's not deserted.
It's not, right.
The
Right.
civilization deserted.
how did this civilization get
People are still there.
advanced enough to be able to erect these massive statues? And then what happened to those people?
It's kind of a miracle they didn't go extinct, that they hung on to such a tiny island without the fact that they were down to just a few hundred folks and are still around, even though at one time they were bigger.
It's a miracle they didn't go completely.
Extinct, yeah, when you think about, because when you have that small of a population and that small of an ecosystem sustaining it, we only take a few dumb families a few generations.
You think modern Americans under those
Oh.
circumstances would
The
get
three of
wiped out alive?
us would be lucky to make it to Christmas.
I disagree. I like to feel
Well,
like in any sort of apocalyptic
I got some
situation,
strawberry jam.
I would be like an absolute champion. And
So what's your, okay?
lord of the new, the new reality.
Convince me. What are you gonna? What? Because you know how to canoe and build a tent, or you can.
Things like that. Yeah, those don't hurt.
All right. There's one thing I wanted to do tonight
Mhm.
was have a moment of silence.
Yes.
A moment of silence for the community, you know, and the things that have happened. We had a shooting, right, in Timbuktu,
A murder.
right?
Terrible.
Yeah. And you know, this is a time, I think, in this world where, you know, there's a lot of conflict and stuff like that. And, I thought maybe a moment of silence sometimes is the best things for people to reflect. And, you know, let's make good choices and, and pull through it.
It is getting
Wow, thank you, folks.
Maybe a few hundred million, yeah.
Yeah, a few hundred million.
250, so.
Good to see you, Jim.
Cheers, man.
Do you
Take
want
care.
to summarize the Easter Island article and segue into that?
If you guys want to, I don't care.
Oh yeah, we're ready.
Or you want to talk about
We got 20 minutes to talk about
so I'll be
whatever we
brief.
want, whatever our mind can conjure. Yeah, go ahead.
So the latest National Geographic really surprised me. I kind of accepted as truth the theory about how the Easter Islanders had erected those famous statues. The theory had entailed them cutting down all their trees basically and building like inclined planes kind of out of trees.
Terraces,
No, I mean they would
inclined planes.
They would add one
Ramps.
log at a time, like a ramp, basically to slowly lift up the statue until it was standing, and they did it in place.
So they cut all the trees
That was
to
the
erect
theory.
the
And
statue.
supposedly
This was the theory.
their vanity to
Wow.
create these sculptures and move them where they wanted
Or-
also led them to ecological
Hey,
devastation.
maybe it
was
worked. Maybe they're on the mothership.
It was a tidy. It was a very tidy theory. Too tidy.
Yeah. Huh.
Too tidy by
It-
modern scientific
It
standards.
completely convinced me because it also made sense as to why they would wipe themselves out. They had no more trees. But the new theory shows them didn't even really require trees at all. They made these ropes and used 3 groups of people on 3 sides of the statue, which were rounded at the bottom, and walked them.
Shimmy, dance, walk.
They shimmied it up. So
Three
they
groups
carved
holding
it on the ground and then
No, there's nothing. They don't carve
No.
anything on the ground. The statue is rounded on the bottom, and just by these 3 groups going from different sides, they're able to
They could
walk
work it up.
kind of.
Yeah.
And it fit in with the myth that had been passed down through the generations that the statue was walked, which never made any sense.
Oh, because there's like a
Never made
path
any sense.
behind
Oral
it.
history wasn't written down, but it was a
Yeah.
historical
Yeah.
supposed myth, but turned out to be a fact.
Well, fact. I mean,
Ish.
this is still all theory, but it's pretty convincing. But it really doesn't explain why they cut down all the trees.
Why they?
Because the rats ate the trees.
The rats ate the
Yeah, that was in
trees?
the article too. That's the new ecological theory is they brought rats with them
From where?
from they came from Chile.
Okay, so yeah, see, we might have to backtrack a
Oh
little
no,
bit. Some
no,
people,
they didn't come from Chile. They came from other Polynesian islands.
Other Polynesian.
Polynesian
some
yeah.
people might not even understand Easter Island.
Well, it's
what
in
it
It's
is.
in the Pacific Island, one of the easternmost.
It's the most isolated island in the world, I think. Or it's up
More than Hawaii, because that's what they told me when I got to Hawaii.
No, I think it's much more.
It's up there. I
It's
don't-
there, yeah.
it's-
They're all very
Hawaii is also
isolated.
very far east. as
You're
far as the Pacific
amazed
Islands
that
go.
people could even
Well, and
be
Hawaii
there.
also
Absolutely
Hawaii's an
amazed.
archipelago, so there's
Yeah.
other Hawaiian islands near each other. Easter Island is an island, one single speck. The closest other speck is more than 1,000 miles away.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Chile is 25
Right.
miles.
People got there without compasses.
Right.
You know.
They followed the
had
birds,
Really
probably.
primitive
The
maps.
tides.
I've heard of one way.
I saw-
One way they navigated was following the smoke from the volcanic eruptions.
Huh.
Which you can see from
Can you
Wow.
see that?
miles away.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you
The
could.
horizon line is only 25 miles. But then if it's a high in the air.
Well, you see the smoke first, and then so if the smoke is coming from the north, you go towards the north.
It's a big theory
If
on
it's-
how people explored the Pacific Islands.
Because that to me is a real humdinger. How did they find these little specks?
They made
Yeah.
sailboats.
Because I'd be
Very
lost in Lake
impressive.
Michigan.
Very
Maybe there were more people on the Earth at one point than we really realized.
impressive. So
You know,
it
it's
was
like-
a
it's like a-
1,000 guys died trying to
it's-
get there, and like
Right, it's the
one made
ant
it.
colony theory. Ant colonies don't visually see something in the distance and go towards it. As a colony, they go in all kind of random directions. Eventually, one of them finds it, and then it brings the information back. So maybe humans are spread more like an ant colony. You know,
It
it's
could be, but I still think there was some
there was
strategy
something
behind
Yeah.
their travels.
Is that our
Is that
phone?
you?
Someone calling in?
Yeah.
Not me.
Does someone know the answer to
Call me.
someone? They might want a video.
Someone knew more about Easter Island than us, but I can't.
So the rats came and that the other thing that was tidy about this explanation is it was Jared Diamond, the guy that wrote that Gun, Germs, and Steel book, which I read, and it was revelatory to me the way it tried to explain things, and I'm not saying it didn't.
I enjoyed it.
But he also then wrote this book, which I didn't read, called Collapse. But I got the gist of it was that civilization sort of inevitably destroys itself with different.
Not inevitably.
Well, you
just
read it, so-
historically.
Historically, but there's never been an example of a civilization that didn't destroy itself. Or am I exaggerating? Other than
Well,
the
we
one,
we are the
we're the one, yeah. Just like I'm not dead yet, so mortality is still just a theory.
Yeah.
Because I'm not dead
Yeah.
yet.
No, he pointed.
In my
to,
case.
he pointed to he illustrated a dozen or so civilizations that have destroyed themselves by ruining their own ecological support structure, and several modern societies that are on the verge of doing that. He didn't just say humanity's doing that right now. He narrowed it down.
All right, he stuck to the facts. But
He did stick to the facts, but Easter Island was one of the case studies.
right, which may not have been the fact he thought it was. In
Exactly.
retrospect.
Exactly.
Now
I'd
that
like
we
to
kn-
hear his comments on this new theory. Actually, I haven't heard any comment from him.
He didn't answer your calls.
I have emailed him before, and this was disappointed not to receive a reply.
So with this Easter Island thing, we know that people could erect the giant stones.
Well, they did it.
They probably didn't need trees to do it, yet they cut down all their trees.
No, the trees
That's-
disappeared, and maybe because the rats ate the nuts, so they couldn't continue to reproduce. That's the
But
new
don't
theory.
trees live, hundreds, even thousands of years? I mean,
Depends on the species. These are like palm trees. These are tropical trees.
How many
They're
theories?
nuts. It's in here. It's in the article. I mean, it's the current thinking of the best
How many
National
how many
Geographic
theories do we need?
has.
our
before-
non-listeners might not be able to refer to the
Preferably
article.
one at a time. Right?
It seems like rats have been
I think my theory of a
Demise
mothership is just as good as these other ones at this
rats
point.
spread the plague as well. I mean, has there been a worse?
Listen.
Has there been a worse introduction than rats?
Well, it was actually the lack
Well-
of cats, not the rats. So much.
Which is the Black Plague.
The
Now,
cats,
now we-
witchcraft, and the cat.
now we have a
massacres.
segue into the bubonic plague.
Thank you.
Of Europe. Wow.
You don't want to talk about the mothership? I'm ready now. You've worn me down. It's
No.
been 40 minutes. Let me hear the mothership theory.
Talking about
Let's do
aliens,
it.
I, I'm not a believer, so.
Well, work him over.
Oh, well, first of all, you are the alien. So it doesn't matter whether you believe
Even
it
if
or
you're
not.
just a mushroom
I mean,
spore
if
on
you're
an
talking
ancient-
about us visiting some distant galaxy, sure, we're aliens. But right
Yeah.
here, no.
Yeah, we are maybe the most alien to our environment. Out of all the species that you have known or seen on TV or have experienced with, we are probably the most alien.
I could
of all
buy
the
that
species.
because we've developed abilities which are, you can hardly describe them as natural.
Yeah, not in harmony with the Earth.
No.
maybe.
You really think we just discovered the internet on our own?
Well, I certainly had almost nothing to do with it.
Electricity? Yeah, just.
Before my time.
Just
I mean,
work
transistors.
as soon as I was born, we
Is
had electricity.
is there a single person on Earth that can actually explain how the internet works? Soup to nuts?
It's got to be a few, yeah.
Well, parts of it. You can
Nobody
always
here in
explain
the
parts of
studio.
it. You can always explain
yeah, we
parts
can explain
of something.
parts of it, but nobody actually understands the whole thing.
That's the God particle. They've just found the God particle, the Higgs boson
You
particle.
think that's related?
Well, it's big news for a certain group of people.
Which group?
The heavy-duty
Physicists?
physicists, the heavy-duty intellectual.
You mean the aliens?
Like, I mean, not intellectual, science. Well,
Extraterrestrials.
well, they are the mystics. In my mind, the real pure hardcore mathematicians and scientists, I mean, in a way, they are our science gurus, right? The
Sure,
mystics, they're the...
their minds operate on a different level, but I don't think
No,
that
not
means that
even
they
that.
come from a different
Not
planet.
even that. Not even that. No. I think they're very human. They're so human in the sense that they're the only ones we're going to believe. We don't believe anybody but the scientists anymore. We just don't.
A lot of people
The
don't believe
scientists
scientists at all.
hold our belief structure. They tell us what to
But
believe.
he means liberal Americans when he says that.
Okay.
He's not counting.
No.
We're not even
Yeah,
talking
okay,
about the,
okay,
the
right.
Creation Museum folks. We're
Right.
just leaving them out, right? But we
it-
have, yeah.
Yeah.
I
A
think
lot. There's a lot.
big chunk of mainstream public has a just inherent distrust of science.
Maybe rightfully so.
Yeah,
'Cause
I do.
Well, I think
The science is wrong by his drive.
well, there's a difference between skepticism and distrust.
Aha. Well, how do you draw that? Is that a bright line?
I think it's a pretty clear line. I mean, skepticism is healthy. I'm skeptical about all scientific findings, but that doesn't mean that
Are you skeptical of?
inherently distrustful and I just assume that it's all BS.
But you just accept that the entire encyclopedia of all human knowledge is now at your fingertips, and you think humans did that on their own. You have no skepticism about that.
Well, sure. I mean, we're talking about a lot of humans over a lot of years.
So that's enough for you.
Very plausible. Definitely.
It's plausible.
I don't believe.
But
in,
you have no
I don't
doubt that
believe-
there isn't an alternative explanation.
I won't say there is not extraterrestrial life, but I think that it would be so far away that we would never encounter it.
But what if they were so far away, but they, in the course of discovering their own internet,
Or the Higgs boson particle.
they found a wormhole?
See, I don't really even understand.
I mean,
what
that's
wormhole is.
that's what they're telling us. As they discover these particles, they are saying there is also the string theory that works perfectly well, and it gives us all these other possibilities. All of a sudden, there's 11 dimensions. We're not just stuck in 3 dimensions anymore.
Well, maybe my imagination is not good enough.
No, well, there's a good article in the Smithsonian all about child's play, and actually the importance of imagining, play imagining, they say is actually very important for the human being to create theories. Imagining is all about creating a theoretical framework, a structure, and then testing it and seeing
You're
if
like
it
the
applies
ants. You
or
got to
not.
be wrong a lot more than you're right
Yeah.
to ever get anywhere.
Yeah.
If I ever
Good way
have
to
kids,
put it.
I'm gonna throw away the instructions for the Legos. Just go to town.
See, I don't think that there is a bright line between skepticism and distrust. I think that it's kind of like pornography. Supposedly, learned people think they know it when they see it, and some people sound smart and curious, and other people sound dogmatic and uncurious. But I'm not sure that it's as clear. I mean, sometimes it's clear. The Creation Museum in Kansas is pretty clearly a
you been there?
distrustful. No, but so actually, what am I saying? Maybe it's a wonderful place. I should go, but
It might be.
I have heard about it. I've heard they essentially ignore what I think is pretty good fossil and carbon dated and other kinds of evidence, reasonably credible, but
Maybe.
that's one extreme, and I think there's a lot of shades of doubt that are not a bright line. I don't think it's easy to know sometimes whether you're being skeptical or distrustful. Because
Maybe,
the more
yeah.
I'm starting to come around on your alien theory. I mean, just at least as a possibility.
Well, here's what it is. It's all about, taking an idea and running with it until you find a problem with it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you don't have to have one idea.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain allows you to have thousands, if not millions, of ideas at one time. So let them run, let them go. And some of them might actually surprise you. Just...
Why don't you try the chemtrail theory, though? Let me see. That's
Well,
one I
okay.
still don't- You've heard
We've
this,
got...
right?
We
You don't have time?
no, we've got
Refresh
2
my
minutes.
memory.
We've got 2 minutes.
No, probably not time for another theory.
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes to put something out there on the table for everyone to think about, okay? We are experiencing drought conditions, okay? Earlier this year, maybe 6 months ago, I felt it was fairly, and I was watching, I felt it was fairly common to see jets that left big, long white trails. I have not seen many at all lately.
I haven't been looking at those, but I'm convinced that the drought is the one thing that's going to convince our society that climate change is real.
Yeah.
More so than just feeling really hot. Actually, drought.
Yeah.
And out west, in the western U.S., is where it's going to really hit the fan. I mean, look at Colorado this summer. It's been a disaster.
Hey, I didn't. How bad is it? I haven't been there.
Yeah,
No,
not there either.
Huge wildfires.
Oh, I knew about that. The wildfires,
Yeah.
right? But is that a drought or that's just
Oh,
fires?
no.
So there's no food to eat in Colorado? either?
Drought is the sole reason behind the fires.
Drought for humans or for the ecosystem or both?
For the ecosystem.
So are humans starving yet in Colorado?
Well, they're losing their houses.
Right. But they're not starving yet. We're not so desperate we're eating dirt.
We haven't had
Yeah.
a dust bowl. We haven't had a.
No, but that's what
recurrence of
I've
that.
heard people starting to call it that.
It could happen. It could
Yeah.
It was on the
definitely
front page of our local paper.
Was
Dust
it?
Bowl 2,
Oh,
question mark.
Oh, right.
Roman numerals 2, Dust Bowl 2.
Yeah.
Ice Bowl,
Oh, my.
Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
Have you
Well-
seen any tumbleweeds in Milwaukee yet?
We are all tumbleweeds. We are all tumbleweeds in the
I
universe.
saw a wild turkey today, downtown Milwaukee.
Oh my lord! Wow.
That's more hopeful than
Wow.
that.
Yeah. There's some really hopeful things. And I'm gonna stick in for the last couple minute here. We're gonna do a poetry segment. Okay. So if you have any poetry, throw it out there right now. I didn't come prepared either, but I'm gonna throw something out there because I thought about it on the way home. I was biking home, and I was trying to go fast, trying to get home, and I was thinking, oh, if I could just go faster. And with each push, I thought, wait, one push is peace, the other push is love. Peace and love. Peace and love, 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 peace and love. Before I knew it, I was going faster than I thought I could go. All right. I want everybody out there to...
How did that make your hamstrings feel?
They feel great, man. I really feel alive right now. I tell you what, everything you do, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. All right.
We'll see you at the next full moon.
That's
if not
right.
Sooner.
That's right. Thank you. This is Oslo Billingsley. Good goddamn. Yeah.
Well, good goddamn, it's Uncle Sam, and I'll shake his hand, 'cause the government rules all across this land. We understand to love the man. Cops are cool, white, fat, and dumb. Republican, making bombs and guns in the name of God. Ass-kissed fat cat, dumb Democrat. So silly Billy, don't do that on Capitol Hill. But here if the money makes the rules, the land of the free, don't be fooled. You can do what you want, it's cool. But good goddamn, Uncle Sam got his hands on my contraband. Good goddamn, Uncle Sam and his land are now named Brand.
Carolyn, please call. Back sound. Now that you done Carolyn and everything if you're not careful, you'll break my heart.
Like the hands that feed. Know it's wrong. We'll ask the chief. Let's take out that wreath. We'll grow the beef when the jungle's gone. But here where the money makes the rules, for the land of the free, don't be fooled. You can do what you want, it's cool. But good goddamn, Uncle Sam got his hands on my contraband. Good goddamn, Uncle Sam, when this land of down named Brand. Good goddamn, Uncle Sam, I'm the friar in the riot band. Good goddamn, Uncle Sam.
Good night.
Baby, not alone. 'Cause you're the rank and file. You're the rank and file. Lobby, for bills to pass. Lobby, and grab that cash. A single pair of dimes, a single death. Can't move the center back to the left. Here comes a wall. Now where'd you go? I guess the jackass ain't for show. You go green, make a scene, and then the wheels go off the track. You stand still, don't move, and GOP grab the slack. But at a glance, you had a chance if you had the balls to prance. The Pat Act still stand. Did your smile fall out your ass? We got a silent majority. We had it all the while, and a vocal minority. Those are just rank and file. Those are just rank and file. I guess we're all rank and file.
My earliest memories are colored by a fear of nightmares. I was afraid to be alone and afraid of the dark and afraid to go to sleep. I was afraid someday the dream would still be there when I woke up.